What's up, guys? Welcome to Badudina channel. Today I'm gonna talk about business formation and how to register your company in the state of Texas. So if you're interested in this topic and thinking about starting a business, make sure to continue watching this video and hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Okay, let's go. So one of the most important things to think about before starting your business is deciding on what type of business you're gonna do and choose your name. Despite the fact what you want to do right now, there is a possibility that your company eventually will pivot, change some directions over time, or you simply can sell your company. So regarding this issue, I would recommend you to think ahead of time and choose a more generic name, especially based on my personal experience. So when we started Kobza Travel almost 3 years ago, now I really see some benefits that we possibly could have if we would name a company, for example, Kobza LLC, not Kobza Travel LLC, because travel is more industry specific, and in some cases you don't want people to see that in your papers. So yeah, choose more generic name and make sure to run with a name checker, which you can find on the Secretary of State website. It costs you about $1 to check your name and see if it's taken or not. Another thing that you should think about choosing your name, it's your website. I know it's 2020 and we have so many different domain names, so it's not just limited to .com right now. It's .io, .state, .org, .co. So despite all this information, there's a pretty big chunk of people that if they remember your name of your company, they will still try to search and Google it with .com name. So make sure if it's that your .com name is not taken. You can also later on, after you registered your company, apply for DBA, doing business as document, and this document will allow you to have a different trade name. For example, if you registered an American limited liability company or something like this, you can later on apply for DBA, and you can have multiple actually if you want to kind of separate your businesses but keep them in the same company, in the same entity. So you can have DBA like American clothing stores, American, I don't know, pretty much everything. I mean, came up with this name and comment below what you think about this topic, what kind of examples you can come up with. Second big step that you should take is to decide what type of entity you should register. I would dedicate a whole video about pros and cons of different types of entities, but just for the sake of this video, I'll mention 4 main types. It's sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability company, and corporations. I would recommend personally starting limited liability company. It has, first of all, liability benefits, as it's in its name, right? It's limited liability, so if you have some problems with your company later on or somebody's trying to sue you, they cannot go after your personal belongings, after property that you personally have, not your company have, after different assets, and this is about it, talking about liability, right? On the other hand, it also has some pros when you talk about tax. And I also talk later on about taxation and how to do your taxes for different companies depending on how you registered. So sole proprietorship, you should choose sole proprietorship. If you're just a single person, you do not plan to transfer your company to anyone else, you do not plan to hire people, and it's basically you and you just doing your business. Maybe you mowing the lawn to your neighbor and you want to simplify this partnership, you don't want to you want to act more businessy, I would say. Another thing is partnership. It's basically the same thing as sole proprietorship, but there are a few people. There are different types of partnership, and I'll talk about it in a different video where we'll go in specifics to pros and cons of all the entities. The next one is LLC, limited liability company. As I mentioned, in most cases, it is recommended that you register an LLC if you're not sure where to go. Just my personal advice, and little disclaimer here, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a tax specialist, but we've been in business for a while. and we didn't close yet, so it's a good sign, right? Next kind of entity is corporation. There are also a few types of corporation that you can open. It can be more beneficial that you open a corporation if you plan to raise money for your company, maybe for your startup, if you want to be more appealing for investors, and also if you're planning to register in the state of Delaware. And why I will also explain in a different video talking more about formation. So in this video, I'm going to cover the state of Texas, which we formed in. If you're not opening a corporation, just open an LLC. In most cases, it is better to open an LLC in your state. I currently located in Dallas, and our company is based in Dallas. So we're talking about Texas here. LLC, in our case, how we did with the Secretary of State, you simply go on the website and you make sure that you run that name checker that I was mentioning before. You make sure that your name is not taken. It just costs you $1 for every name that you check. But can cost you more if you try to form a company and you pay $300 fee. This is what it is in most states. It can vary a little bit. In Texas, again, it's $300 to open an LLC, and just don't compare the prices of opening different entities. In the long term, it is worth it.
You go to website Texas Secretary of State, you find domestic LLC company, choose certificate, type your name of the company that you choose, make sure to run with name checker before you fill out your personal information. I would recommend to file your business address, not your personal address, because as you may read in instructions, it is public record and all the information that you fill out in this certificate of formation would be available to public. If it is possible, you use your business address, you fill out again just your name, and this is pretty much it. It will cost you $300. This is how it should look.
You answer his questions, you make sure that information that you provided always correct, and they will basically respond you within 2 weeks usually. You'll receive documents information and introduction letter of what you should do, what tax liabilities do you have, what documents to file, and what next steps should be. The last but not the least step is after you registered your company, you should apply for EIN, for Employer Identification Number. Even if you do not plan hiring people, in most cases, most financial institutions will require you to have this number. So even when you apply to open your business bank account, you'll have to have this number. Depending on the type of a business that you own and planning to operate, you may need this number for vendors, possibly for some other institutions that you're working on. Some other companies might also ask you to provide this number. It is some kind of social security number, but just for business. And of course, the main purpose of employee identification number, it is if you employ people, even if you work with contractors, when you fill out your tax forms, you will have to send 1099 form to your contractors and mention your employer identification number. The main thing that I want to mention about registering your company is you do not have to pay anyone to do it for you. The process is pretty simple. You can do it yourself. The application with the state of Texas for LLC will cost you $300. It is a fee that you can later on write off as your expenses as well, as a formation fee. And you do not have to pay anyone else, any third-party companies. You are by yourself authorized to do it. Depending on a state where you're located, you may not need to file and register any entity at all. So if you're thinking about doing sole proprietorship, for example, in California, by the law, every person by default is sole proprietor in California, so you don't need to file at all. After you registered, usually within 2 weeks, you will receive documents by mail that your company was opened. You can also postpone your open date for your company, and you should also receive documents which is called franchise tax, which is in the state of Texas. It is some form of a state tax. but you don't have to pay any tax to state if your revenue is below 1.5 million. That's it for today. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment below if you have any questions about registering your company in Texas. I'll also cover more tax topics and more topics about selecting the type of entity opening. So make sure to subscribe to this channel if you're planning on opening your company and thinking about doing business in the state of Texas. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you like it. If you did, hit that like button. If you're planning to open a company in state of Texas, hit that like button. Just hit that like button. Okay, see ya.